I'm going to show you 2 ways to use the brand new Lovely Layer Garden stamp and die. Hey everyone, it's Joy here and welcome to my channel. Here is that die and stamp set. This is the Lovely Garden stamp and die. You can get this only at scrapbook.com, and I want to say thank you to scrapbook.com for sending me these products to play with and to be able to share with everyone. So this has this beautiful piercing die, and then you have these die cut flowers that will just lay directly on top of this. And so I'm going to show you how to do that, and then I'm going to show you the second card how to do something a bit different. And then here you have the cute stamp set that has some images and then tons of sentiments. I love the sizes and the fonts. I just think this is a fantastic stamp set. I'm also going to be using the Boho 6x8 paper pad. All of my color choices will be from this paper pad for both of my cards. So I'm going to start with this lighter kind of minty blue color, and I'm going to tape this in place. I did trim it down to an A2 size because this die does not cut around the outside edge. All it does is pierce those images inside. So as you can see that here, it's so pretty. And I did already die cut all of my flowers and things off camera. I did look at that pierced image in the back and count how many of whatever I needed and die cut accordingly. And then I'm going to start adhering the centers to my flowers. So I kind of want to get my flowers together, and then we can start gluing this onto the background. What I think is really neat about this first card design is that it's kind of a no-brainer. You just follow the layout that is already created with this die. And so I think that that makes this super simple. And then using the Boho paper pad, then you don't even have to figure out your colors because that's already put together. So if you're someone that maybe struggles with layout or struggles with color combinations, this is kind of the way to do something like that. Then my second card, I am still using that Boho paper pad because it's beautiful to begin with. But then I'm going to be a little more freeing with my design. I don't have the design already laid out for me, but we're going to create something. And I want to be able to show off the piercing because the piercing is so pretty. So I'm going to show you that on the second card. So definitely hang on to watch that card as well. So I'm just laying these down where the piercing goes. Now these leaves here, there's a bigger one and a smaller one. There's 2 of each because they do lay in different directions. So that's really nice to have. These large blue flowers, I am going to add some foam adhesive squares behind the back because I do want some of this to have some dimension and some of it will not. The flowers that don't have to have, or that can't have dimension, is because you have to tuck the flower underneath some of the greenery, which I will show you here in just a little bit. So those do not have foam adhesive behind it, but some of my other flowers do. So like these flowers also have foam adhesive. So I'm going to add a couple little squares to the back of these guys. And then also you will notice when I lay out my colors, I don't want it to be a mirror image. So I'm going to do the opposite color, even though this is kind of a mirror image from top to bottom. I don't want it to look like that necessarily, so I am alternating the colors across from each other. Also, in the center of this die, it's open, which is perfect for a sentiment, and that's where we are going to put ours. So I will show you here in just a little bit how we're going to do that. But right now we can just finish getting all of these glued down, and when you put these down in place, you don't see any of the piercing anymore. So I thought I just need to do a second card to be able to show how beautiful just the piercing is because it is so stunning. But you can see how this is starting to come together and how the layout is so pretty, and the color combinations that you can use for this background, are almost limitless. So you could just have so many different types of look just with this one die. So let's get our other 2 larger flowers here. And then I have a few smaller flowers that I die cut from that darker blue, and then like these little dots around, different size dots around, that I've also die cut from that darker blue. And it just is a finishing detail, which I'm really glad that it had. And I think it's turned out so, so pretty. I'm just going to use my Pick Pro tool to lift up some of that greenery so I could tuck my little flowers underneath. So these are the type of flowers that don't have dimension, obviously, because it needs to be under the greenery. And I did not want to pop up the greenery, so that's why I did it that way. So I have a little flower there, and I'm going to use this other, put this other flower in that spot, and now we can go to our circles. Like I showed, the stamp set has tons of sentiments, and there's tons of fonts on there. It's scripty fonts. I just think it's so, so pretty. But I decided to use a small sentiment, which I really like to do. And I'm going to stamp this with black ink on a strip of scrap paper from the background of this card here. So that kind of minty blue color. And of course, I'm going to pop that up with some foam adhesive strips. They're 2mm in size. And I did trim down this sentiment strip so it doesn't cover those blue dots on each side of it. But look at how fun that is. Okay, let's go to our second card. I'm using that dark blue cardstock from the Boho paper pad, and that's a 6x8 paper pad. So I did trim this down again to an A2 size. I'm going to trim this in half because remember in the center there's no stitching or anything, so I was able to trim it in half cleanly. And then I die cut some more flowers and some more greenery. So I'm just going to put those together. I will adhere this blue panel that we did the piercing on because I wanted to show the piercing. I'm going to adhere that to that light apricot color from the paper pad. So we kind of have this two-toned background. I want to stamp my sentiment first. Usually I do my sentiments last, but I needed to get this in place so I knew where to lay out my flowers. So I'm going to do some white heat embossing. And I'm going to do two sentiments. This large one says, "Hello, lovely," and then the small one says, "Let's celebrate." But I'm going to do one at a time because I want to be able to scoot them up close enough to each other without the stamps themselves getting in the way. I prepped my background with an anti-static powder tool, and I'm inking up with clear Versamark embossing ink. And this stays wet for a while, so I'm able to bring in that smaller sentiment, and I can stamp that before I sprinkle on the white embossing powder. So I'm going to ink that up, sprinkle on the white embossing powder, and then just take my heat tool to it until it's shiny and melted. Now I'm going to start adhering some of my flowers to the greenery. I'm going to start with the bottom one. This one I think needs to get put together first, and then the other ones I kind of assemble as we go along. So the flowers are going to be kind of the dividing line between the blue and the apricot. I'm popping that up with foam adhesive squares, but not all will have adhesive. And I'm going to tuck this around my sentiment. I do like my sentiments a lot of times tucked in and around the other design elements on my card. There's something about that that just feels right, and I love the way it looks. So that's what I'm doing here. I want the leaves and the flowers and things to kind of hug the sentiment, so to speak. So that is what I'm thinking when I am putting these flowers together. And now this is a more, free-spirited card. You're not following that planned layout, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. And if you're someone that struggles with design or color combinations, doing it this way from a paper pad that has the color combos and a design that's already laid out for you, quick and easy. And then you have people that love to just come up with their own ideas. And so doing it like this, it can kind of feed that design as well. So I think both ways are really fantastic. But how about you guys let me know in the comments which way you go, or if you like both ways, which way you like to do cards. If you like it where it's already kind of laid out for you and you can just put it together, or where you can come up with your own layout and go that route. I have these adhered to white A2 size card bases. And then I'm finishing off this card with white pops of color. I didn't want to add it to the other card. I didn't feel like it needed it, but this definitely needed a little something extra. So I'm just going to add dots all around the flowers on both the apricot and the dark blue cardstock. Let's take a look at this up close. I just think it's so pretty. I love this die so much. I definitely want to use this again. And then this card, and look at that gorgeous piercing there. I think these turned out so pretty. And remember, you can only get these at scrapbook.com, so definitely go snag them up if you liked how these turned out. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope you have a wonderful day.